Welcome back to the Name Redacted Podcast, America's most beloved podcast, the most downloaded Red Sox podcast in the world. It is our first off-season podcast. Pat's here, Tyler's here, Jake's here. No Pete. I forget what he said he was doing, but he was doing something. Yeah, it feels weird. If like I want to be here for the people, for Red Sox fans that are like, hey, we need content to get us through the offseason, to get us through the playoffs, because I mean, it's sad watching the playoffs without the Red Sox. Like I was tweeting out Kyle Schwarber and Xander Bogaerts playoff home runs from last year just because I was like, I just need to feel something, like anything at all. I feel like I have like erectile dysfunction watching these other teams. It's like, I want to get excited. I don't feel anything. So there I go tweeting Kyle Schwarber's grand slam and Xander Bogaerts dead center tank off of Garrett Cole in the wild card game last year. But there are some topics that we need to get into. And I promise you, my promise to the listeners of this podcast, we are not going to beat the Xander Bogaerts, opt-out free agency contract negotiation thing into the ground. We're just not. I think over the course of the entire year, we've made our thoughts known, how we feel about it. I think it's pretty obvious how we feel about it. It's pretty obvious how everyone feels about it. Everyone wants him back. I don't know that there are many, if any, Red Sox fans that are like, you know what? Maybe let Xander walk and then like, let's use that money elsewhere. I'm pretty sure everyone, players, front office, everyone included, fans want Xander Bogaerts back. So we're not going to beat that angle into the ground. When news pops up, we will talk about that news. When there are new updates, we will talk about the new updates. Not like when John Heyman just tweets out the same shit, just reworded 20 times because there's nothing to talk about. Like he'll tweet out the same report and just reword it a bunch of times and everyone takes it as new news and it's just not. We're not going to do that. But that being said, there was some kind of, I guess, news. I don't know that it's like something to get super excited. It's like, to me, I'm not going to call it filler, but it's worth noting. And if it's worth noting, we'll mention it here and we'll discuss it. Tyler, you brought it up before the show. Sean McAdam had the report. What was it?
Yeah, so he basically came out and he said that John Henry and Tom Werner over the last couple weeks of the season had met with Xander without Scott Boras multiple times. Just Xander Bogaerts, that was the report from him, which was a little bit of it was weird timing, I guess. It came on the same day as the end of the season presser, but Rob Bradford had done an interview with Xander that came out either that morning or the day before, and Xander had said he had no conversations with the team. No numbers were exchanged, according to McAdam's report.
That was on Tuesday.
Like
that was recorded on Tuesday. I was there when they did it. So that was recorded on Tuesday. It was right after he got done with TC's podcast.
So, yeah. So there's obviously, I think what Bogaerts may consider talks may be different than maybe a conversation between him and, Werner and Henry, and they're saying, hey, we want you here. We care about you. But Bogaerts probably looks at it and says, well, it's not a real talk unless the numbers are on the table.
Yeah. And I agree with that. So I think that there's some truth to all of it. And what day did the McAdam report come out? Was that Friday?
I want to say that was the same day as the end of the season presser on Thursday. I think it was like a couple hours after it.
Okay. All right. So I'm trying to get my timeline straight. So Xander said this on Tuesday. That there had been no like negotiations, basically. And then on Thursday, later in the day, that's when Sean McAdam's report came out that, how is it worded?
Red Sox owners have met with Xander Bogaerts more than once in recent weeks to kickstart contract negotiations. Okay.
So I'm just going to say this because what I was told was prefaced by, hey, this is off the record, but that was before this report came out. So now it's already out there. So I'm hoping that it's okay to like talk about what I was told. So Thursday morning, it was a few hours before the McAdam report came out. I was told that John Henry had met with Xander, and it aligns with what Xander said. It wasn't a negotiation. It was more like a, hey, I'm just letting you know that we want you back. and that we're going to do everything that we can to bring you back. So that timeline, Tuesday, there's been no negotiations. What I was told Thursday morning, and then the report later on Thursday, it kind of all lines up to where it all makes sense. Like maybe, like I don't think that the Red Sox sat Xander down to be like, all right, how does 7 years and 210 sound? Like I don't think that it was like that. I think that there was a meeting with Xander and Devers. Was Devers a part of that report?
No, that is very fresh news.
Okay, so maybe let's just say hypothetically, Devers was also part of the meetings where owner and I think in the end of the year press conference, like Heim had said, like we're not trading Devers, like that's not on the table.
Yeah, he called it. It's not on their radar. And his big thing was, listen, we're in a much different state as an organization than when the Mookie Betts situation happened. And I don't, from what he said, I don't think we'll be in that kind of spot again with a player of his caliber of that level.
Yeah. Okay. So that all lines up where ownership, the meeting was not, I'm sure Scott Boras was not there. I'm sure it was just ownership, Xander, and just saying, hey, just so that you can kind of know where we're at. Because obviously prior to this season starting, the offers were not adequate. They were not legit. They were not competitive, whatever word you want to use. So it sounds like the Red Sox owners sat down Xander, perhaps Devers, I don't know, and said, listen, whatever happened before, we can throw that out. We're just letting you know that we plan on aggressively pursuing you to make sure that you come back. We just want to have that before you go back to Aruba. We just want you to know where we're at before, you either choose to opt out or we have a conversation before the season ends, the World Series ends, to get something done before then. It would be smart to do that. But also the temptation for Xander Bogaerts, because there are certainly whispers that he's gotten this far. Why would you sign something now? Like you are weeks away from being able to negotiate with any team. Why would you only negotiate with one team? And in saying that, I think that the obvious answer is because Xander, it's different for Xander. Like I've told this story before. I've used it at the last time that Xander, before he signed a contract and we were wondering, what year was that? That was 19 that he signed the extension.
Yep, spring training.
Yeah. So when he originally signed with the Red Sox, as the story goes, the Red Sox were there to see his brother, Jair, and they ended up being like, who the fuck's that guy? And it was Xander, and he was 16, and they were the first team to be like, we like that guy. And then they offered him a contract. And I believe, I can't remember if it was double or triple, but the Yankees offer was way better. It was at least double. And Xander was like, well, the Red Sox, they wanted me first. And they were like the first team to even notice that I had, potentially professional big league talent. So that's the team that I'm going to sign with for whatever price that is. So that just speaks to his character. Again, he was 16 at the time. And he's already, and people have kind of combated me on this when I said that Xander has taken less already on the contract that he currently has. People are like, what do you mean he took less? Like, look at what other shortstops are getting paid. It's not even about the position. It's about the player. Like, you're talking about a top 10 in the league, wins above replacement. Like, if you're saying like shortstop money, we're talking top big league talent money. $20 million a year is less than what that's worth. So I think that factor exists, that he is loyal to the Red Sox organization. But the fact is, he got this far. Why wouldn't you just go to free agency at this point? Just to see what's out there, just to see what money is out there. That doesn't mean you have to take it. It means you can take the best offer, go back to the Red Sox and be like, hey, this team's offering me X. What can you do for me? That doesn't mean that he's gone. But it would be wise, especially with Scott Boras as your agent, to at least go.
And I think what was, from the Xander Bogaerts perspective, like we know Derek Jeter's his role model. That's the guy he models himself after. That's who he wants to be. And we understand, with Derek Jeter, obviously spent his entire career with the Yankees. There were times where that looked weird or, things kind of went that way. And I think the Red Sox are sitting here, and that's where you have to be frustrated that it's come to this point where it is a couple weeks. Because, of course, Scott Boras is sitting there and saying, hey, all the pressure's on them. The Red Sox are sitting there. They just don't want you to, eventually opt out because they know once you get out you get out of this contract, the first guy waiting to call you is the guy who gave you that extension. Dave Dombrowski, who at that time, we know how grateful Xander was to get that extension, what it meant to him. And he's talked about it recently, what that meant for his family, but also at that time for someone to believe in him to that level. That's what's waiting out there. So it's on the Red Sox where, hey, maybe you could have even got more of a discount heading into this year. Now you just got to come with it. He's not going to break the bank and try to get $35 million a year. I don't think anyone's expecting that, but you got to pay him what he's worth. You need a very fair deal here, and you got a couple weeks. And we know part of that McAdam report was they expected to meet with Xander, or were hoping to, one more time before he left for Aruba. Due to logistics, that's how it was worded in the article. It didn't end up happening, and he's disconnecting for a bit while he's out in Aruba. So Pat, how quickly can you get there? Another week goes by, 2 weeks, we're going to be right there. You have 21 days, 3 weeks.
Yeah. Patrick, you're a Boras guy, as am I. I know that you did not have a free agent experience with Scott Boras, but you know the man. You've dealt with the man. What do you think Scott Boras, what do you think the conversations are like between Scott and Xander right now?
I'm very confident. Scott is portrayed as an evil man.
Yeah.
Jarrod, you know him personally. I know him personally. He's not in any way. He is a very savvy businessman. He's fantastic at brokering a deal. Not only is he fantastic at this, the people below him, right below him, are also spectacular. We got a guy named by the name of Scott Champerino, who is supposedly the guy who might take over Boras Corp at the end of Scott's career. He is, on par with Scott, if not even a little bit sharper. Scott's a little bit young, or Scott Champerino is a little bit younger. But the message that I always got from Scott was that I am going to be the bad guy if you need me to, but at the end of the day, it is always your decision. I can tell you that when Xander signed that hometown discount, I bet you it wasn't the advice of Scott. Scott probably told him, hey, listen, this is what you're worth. This is what I believe I can go out to the free market and get you. It is your choice as to what you decide from there. My belief, although I think Xander is a very good player, a very good guy, and I think he probably ultimately does stay in Boston as long as the Red Sox are willing to part with some big money for him. I think your good guy thing that you're hoping that Xander does now, or thinking he might do now before free agency, I think you have a much greater chance of him getting, let's say, let's just say for argument's sake, what do you think is a fair deal for him right now, Tyler? How many per year?
We're talking probably 30. It depends on the years, I think, but most likely for what the Red Sox are going to want, it's somewhere 30 million, in that 6-year range.
Okay, so let's say he's offered 30 and 6 by the Red Sox, and then Dave Dombrowski comes in with 33 and 6. I think you might get a Xander that says, no, thank you, Dave. I'm very appreciative, but I'm staying in Boston. I think you might see that Xander, where he turns out a bigger offer because the Red Sox came in with an offer that he believes that is a fair offer, and he preferred to stay in Boston. So I think you could see that, but I don't believe he doesn't get to free agency. It just, from a purely strategic standpoint, it doesn't make any sense to sign early. It just doesn't. There is no gain for Xander. The Red Sox fans aren't going to love him more if he doesn't get to free agency. Actually, probably a lot of Red Sox fans, based off the offers they heard throughout the season and preseason, they're like, you fucking go to fucking free agency and make them actually spend some money. They're going to love Xander no matter what, because Xander is, he's the golden child in a lot of Red Sox fans' eyes. So I think that him and Scott I think Scott has already relayed to Xander several times over the last probably year and a half, what he believes that Xander's worth and what he thinks he can get on the open market. And then it's up to Xander on when Red Sox come in with an offer. What he decides to do with that offer will be ultimately Xander's decision. And if Xander decides to go with a higher offer, then people will go after Scott for it. And that's exactly how Boras Corp is set up. Let's let Scott be the bad guy so the player can go out and play. So I think that's probably what's going on. And let me also add this. I think that this meeting or meetings that they had is an obvious play. Like you talk about, I take this into the business world here. When I'm trying to buy a new restaurant, I always want to make those guys call me a couple times before I ever reach out to them, because I now know that you think, at the very least in your own head, that you want to sell it to me more than I want to buy it from you, which always drives the price down. They gave shit offers for the last year, and they had to mend that with Xander in person prior to going into free agency, because they want Xander to leave with as good of a taste in his mouth with this ownership group prior to hitting the streets as they can. And so they needed to have that meeting. That was a play all the way. They knew that they fucked up and they didn't get Xander for cheap, and now they had to mend that relationship prior to free agency, because Xander wasn't probably leaving with a great taste in his mouth. We heard him say during the year he doesn't really know what the hell the ownership group's doing, what Chaim Bloom's doing. So it was a play, but again, there is in my opinion, there's maybe a 1% chance that Xander doesn't hit free agency, and that is only if Xander is trying to do his best Mother Teresa impersonation for Halloween.
So then let me ask you this. Hypothetically, the Red Sox go to Xander before the World Series and say, "What's your number?" And it's probably not wise to even give a number, but let's just say he has one. And he says, "This is my number. If you meet it, done deal." Say the Red Sox put that number on the table. Is he then tempted to be like, "It's good to know that you'll meet it, but I still want to see what else is out there"? Or does he just say, "All right, done"?
It's tough. Xander might say done, the type of guy that he is. If it's me in the negotiation table, being the asshole that I am, I tell you a number, first off, that's outrageous. That if Tyler's telling me 30, then I'm putting up I want 45. You mean it? Fine. You want to do 45? I'll sign with you. Good, God bless you. But also, I might say if I say 45, you say deal. Okay, well, you mean you won't do 47? If you're not even pushing back on me with my number,
then you would go higher. You're willing to go higher.
You're probably going higher. Then I can go over to Dave Dombrowski. Hey, listen, the Red Sox going to do 45. You believe that shit? do 47 for me. So there's always. I think Xander's a better person than I am, though. So
yeah, definitely.
I think, yeah, definitely. So I think if Xander gave a number, which I don't think he would, that doesn't make any negotiation sense either. You want to see where their number is way before you give yours. But if he did and he wanted to be fair, I think Xander probably takes that deal. I just don't think that conversation is going to happen.
I think if they get into a spot where he hits free agency, and maybe it is because, like you said, Scott Boras is just telling him like, "Hey, this is not probably what you want to hear, but this is how you should go about it if you really want to make the most out of this." I think that's when you start to risk things with like Alex Cora, who has talked about urgency. I think that urgency and calling Xander Bogaerts priority number one, saying at the presser, we don't want him to opt out. If you're not pushing all those chips in as much as you can before you get to free agency, I think you're going to really regret it. I think that's going to be something that come back to bite you. Yeah, and going off like what Pat said, like it may be out of their hands. It may just be they're not willing to do it. But if the Red Sox aren't pushing their chips in to get this done ahead of time, I don't know what you're doing. You have this, 3-week, really 4-week, we're a week ahead now, span to do this. What are you doing? You should be doing everything in your power to get this question mark out of the way, because you still have so much to do. And we're not even talking Devers yet, where you could be in the same exact scenario, but worse, come next March, where you're asking, is the best player on the Boston Red Sox going to be here in a year?
Also, keep in mind, Alex Cora, former Boras client. So very good relationship with Scott. Probably will be in the know, not only from ownership on the Red Sox side, but in Scott Boras' side, what is going on with that deal. So it's not a manager that doesn't get it. He certainly understands the value that Xander brings and how Scott approaches all these deals. So he's probably going to get it from both sides there.
You know what, Pat? That's a great fucking point. First of all, A, did not know that Alex Cora was a Scott Boras client. And B, it's a very great point.
This is what I'm here for.
It's huge inside analysis by Pat Lay.
Pat, do you think Boras would take it weird? Because he had stated earlier in the year, like after the first garbage offer that Bogaerts got before or during spring training, he felt like ownership had to speak to him, like have these conversations with me. The fact that they kind of went and spoke to Bogaerts without him there, do you think he'd feel some type of way about that, or would that just be like, hey, like you're not doing numbers, so until the numbers are here, then we'll have the talk between us? But it felt like back then Boras spoke above Heimblum. Like he was like, this is an ownership conversation, which I thought, was a dig at Bloom fairly enough because look at what he threw at him.
Well, Scott knows the type of person John Henry is, and Scott knows the type of GM that Heimblum is. Scott doesn't want Heimblum involved. That is a pure play. Heimblum he's not been brought up through a spending culture. So of course he's going to go above him. Scott's probably going to go above almost every GM in the league, to be honest. So that's just who this Scott is. I think you need to, if you're going to undercut Xander Bogaerts, the only person, in my opinion, that has the ability to convince Xander Bogaerts to sign at a hometown discount is Alex Cora. You would need him involved. I just don't think Alex Cora signs on for that. I don't think Alex Cora is too good of a guy to give bad advice to a guy he cares about. Or even a guy he doesn't care about, honestly. He's just too good of a person. So you need to have Alex involved. Heimblum being involved, he's going to be just because ownership is going to have him. But this is ultimately going to be a John Henry decision, and Scott's going to do everything in his power to absolutely depower, I don't think that's a real word, but to try to take as much power away from Heimblum as possible. Because he doesn't probably view him as a guy who wants to spend a lot of money, which understandably so. It isn't in Heimblum's nature to seemingly go out and spend a ton of money. So I think that this is ultimately going to be, I think it's going to come down to fucking John Henry willing to spend, and that's the end of the day. It is what it is. I'm not even sure how much Heimblum will be consulted on it.
That's also correct.
Bloom said that, like in the end of the year presser, he's like, ultimately it's an ownership decision, which I thought was interesting, where he put it out there like, hey, at the end of the day, if this is what ownership wants, they're the bosses. You know what I mean? Like they will decide if Xander Bogaerts is in a Boston Red Sox uniform moving forward. And I think that's where you hope, considering how sensitive they are, how they know everything looks PR wise, you let this guy walk. I don't think any homegrown star or anyone is looking at this organization as a place that's going to take care of you and pay you. And I think that's why I was happy David Ortiz spoke out. Pedro Martinez spoke out and said, hey, Bogaerts is the kind of lineage, if you want to go all the way back to 2004, whether, Papi, Pedro, eventually the baton, going to Pedroia as the years went along, eventually passing that on to Bogaerts, Papi helping passing that to Bogaerts himself as well. That's the guy they view in that light, is the guy who's carried the torch. They didn't mention Devers in that way. Obviously, it's a little bit of a different situation because, Devers is in that post era. Bogaerts would have to pass it on to him, but I think anyone would tell you, even Alex Cora, Devers is still young. He's still maturing. There's a lot there. They view him as the guy who carries that. If you throw that away, it's a culture. Like that will take a significant hit moving forward. Whether you go give $300 million to Carlos Correa or not, it won't matter. That part will be gone.
Yeah, when you're talking about a GM in all these roles, you have to understand that a lot of people place a lot of blame on GMs. Red Sox fans actually do a pretty good job of placing blame on ownership. But GMs are just advisors to the owners. It's the owner's money. So the GM is there to tell you what is out in the market. Can they do cheaper? Is it a better option to go out into the free market and structure a team that way? And then it's up to or what a player in their belief is worth, which the owners will have a big hand in because they're going to talk about how other guys' contracts have been structured. But he's just an advisor, and he's just a high-end advisor to these owners. They're going to go in and say, hey, listen, what does the shortstop market look like? How bad a PR are we going to get smoked if we don't re-sign this guy? How important is he to the franchise? How much is he worth? And we put all those factors into a crock pot, and then you come out, you have a product of what you want to give this guy. And at the end of the day, Chaim Bloom can slam his hands on the desk, be like, well, we need to give Xander Bogaerts $30 million 6 years, $35 million 6 years. John Henry says, fuck off. It's fuck off. That's just the nature of the business. It's tough to blame. To me, it's tough to blame GMs in these types of instances unless they're giving bad advice. Then they don't belong in that role. Then they're bad advisors. But if they're giving sound advice and the owners just aren't fucking doing it, then the owners just aren't fucking doing it. It's not really their fault. But that's when GMs. This goes even further. Now this is when GMs have to pick their what GM role they take wisely. And that's why you see some special assistants that don't take openings with the Twins. Well, maybe not so much the Twins, but it's a bad example because they've been playing well. But might not take a GM role at the Royals and wait for the Red Sox to open or the
Think about the Angels. With the Pujols contracts and like CJ Wilson and Josh Hamilton, where he's like, hey, I don't think we should do this. And Artie Moreno's like, I don't give a fuck. I'm signing the check. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I want. I want to drive it up. But that makes me want to ask you guys. It felt like the one thing anyone could really say about the presser, they said all the right stuff. It doesn't matter unless they do it. John Henry and Tom Werner weren't there. You feel some type of way about that?
Do I feel some? I mean, no, I don't. It's hard for me to say. I think I don't care about Tom Werner. John Henry is the face of the Red Sox ownership group. Like Tom Werner is very influential, and he's been there for a while, and all that good stuff. But like when you talk about the Red Sox, like down here at least, I'm New Jersey, I'm a Yankee. It's the Yankees area, the Mets area. When you talk about the Red Sox or the Red Sox ownership group, they're like, oh yeah, John Henry, what's he up to? Like it's John Henry's group. He drives the ship, right? So I do believe John Henry should be at these meetings or these pressers, but ultimately I don't give a shit if he's there. You just got to do what you're supposed to do. Go fucking, send out your faces of the franchise from a lower level position or a lower level standpoint, and then you got to write the check at the end of the day. And as long as he writes the check, no one gives a shit if you show up to the presser. So, again, time will tell what these guys want to do, but I don't care so much about all that stuff. They show up to certain things, and they don't show up to certain things. If they had a in-house meeting with Xander Bogaerts, and Scott was there, and John Henry didn't show up. Now we're talking about, okay, this is a slap in the face. Is this not even worth your fucking time? But in a press conference, I don't care about.
Jarrod?
I was actually just digging for a text message from last year, from an agent, because they were kind of giving some insight on the inner workings of like working with Chaim Bloom in the past and things like that. And it was interesting that one of the words used was indecisive. But to bring back to Pat's point, it really doesn't matter how Chaim feels about this, especially when you're talking about a contract that's going to be, I guess, north of $200 million. So once you get to that territory, it's not a GM decision. Like it's an ownership decision. But I did find it interesting that word was used. I don't know. I mean, I guess also like comparing Chaim's role to what it was in Tampa, he obviously has way more power now. So I don't know how much opportunity he's really had to be indecisive. But
I'd argue really the offseason, right? With the Trevor Story stuff coming down where it felt like the roster wasn't finished. Obviously, the lockout played a part in that. But, were you sitting on your hands a little bit too much waiting for the best deal / the bargains instead of being aggressive? Is that the urgency? Hey, Alex Cora, I'm telling you, You need to act. You cannot sit around and wait these guys out or hope the right guy falls in your lap, or else you'll see key parts of your roster leave for other places. Is Cora trying to tell Bloom there's no more room for that anymore?
I kind of go back to my point earlier about too many cooks in the kitchen. You know, you look at the infrastructure of the Boston Red Sox, and there are a lot of people who have a say. And how Pat described Chaim Bloom as someone that's really just there to give advice to the owners, like, hey, this is my opinion. Chaim is not the only person there who's doing that. He's obviously got the highest position, but he's not the only person there who's doing that, which is an interesting dynamic.
Especially considering those guys around him have been here much longer than him. Guys
correct.
And women, actually. You know.
Yes. Shout out Raquel. Yeah.
Also, just a dynamic thing there that you also should be made aware is the moment that John Henry or this ownership group decides to take the side of someone below him in a situation where maybe Chaim Bloom feels strongly about something, indecisiveness is bound to come with many of the other choices that Chaim Bloom has. So if John Henry seemingly is trusting people who've been there longer than him, even though they are not, even though Chaim Bloom's position is senior to theirs, you're certainly going to get especially a younger GM in Chaim. Chaim's not very old, is he, Jarrod?
He's like 37, maybe 38.
37. In a big network, in a big market. I mean, he could have fucking. He was an assistant GM down in Tampa, right?
I don't know what his title was. It was assistant GM.
I believe so.
Or whatever.
He was there
39,
forever.
Yeah, they can make he can make a ton of moves, and no one in Tampa is even mentioning it. In Boston, every move is analyzed to the nth degree, as they say. You get a magnifying glass on you there, and then if you don't feel like you are the most trusted advisor, even though you have the most senior level position in the organization with John, that's going to breed indecisiveness as well. So I would agree with you, Jarrod, in the fact that if there are too many cooks in the kitchen and John Henry seemingly is leaning on others rather than his supposed most senior level, positioned guy, it's going to make for an interesting dynamic in that front office.
But what if all those cooks want Xander? Then what? I mean, the fact of the matter is, like, John Henry has already sat down with Xander and been like, hey, we fucking want you back. And we're going to go hard in the paint to make that happen. Which, if you're listening to this, you might be frustrated hearing that. You're like, all right, where was that in fucking spring training? Like, where was that last offseason? Like, why did you let it get to this point? As the owner of this team, you have, again, the point about Chaim Bloom, it's like you can want him, you can not want him. This is an ownership decision. A franchise player, a cornerstone player, a guy that's going to cost a lot of money. So whatever Chaim says or doesn't say doesn't really matter. If John Henry says get it done, it's getting done. I mean, that's just, it is what it is. But where was that, to go back to Alex Cora's quote, the word that he used, where was that urgency last offseason, this past spring training? And that's, to me, I think that was the most frustrating part, was seeing all these deals get done. I don't understand the whole, like, oh, we're not going to negotiate in season. You're not negotiating. It's your fucking agent. Go play baseball. Like, that's not a shot at Xander. I'm just saying, like, that's been a thing for years. Like, it's not a Xander thing. I've heard that from so many players. We're not negotiating in season. You're not doing it. Your fucking agent is. Like, if they have a deal that they can take back to you, like, fine. But until then, like, they're just going to keep hammering out the details, and you don't have to even, like, think about it. You don't even have to know that it's going on. Julio Rodriguez, Austin Riley, like, all these other guys that have gotten these huge contracts in season. Like, didn't someone just get one like a couple of weeks before the fucking season ended?
Kike got his done middle of the year. Spencer Strider just got his deal.
Like the Braves fucking, I don't get, even with like the Red Sox, like David Ortiz, Josh Beckett, like a bunch of guys got their deals done in season. But I mean, is that a Boras thing? I'm assuming. I mean, there's been a couple examples. I think Jared Weaver is the one that everyone points to, where it's like, yeah, if you hire Scott Boras, like you're definitely going to go to free agency and all this. And then I think Weaver signed before and he got whatever he got. There's not a ton of examples, but they exist. So I don't know. That to me is the most frustrating part, is where was that urgency before? Like, why now? Like now you're going to say, hey, we fucking love you, man. We want you here. Is that because the Red Sox finished in last place? Is that because you're not selling as many tickets? Is that because Nesson ratings are down? Why now are you showing the urgency when it's not too late, but it's about as close as you can get to being too late without being too late?
And the other thing is, like, Bogaerts said in a couple, I can't remember which article it was down in the last 2 weeks of the season, but he was like, we've been open to talks, and I'm telling you right now, maybe something will change over the coming days. I'm listening. I'm here if there's an offer. So yes, it's great that you said you're starting the minute the offseason starts. Awesome. You couldn't have started this a week ago, 2 weeks ago, a month ago. Those seem to be options on the table. Why wait until the season's over? Every minute counts. I think even if you were going down the stretch, there's a difference between that and, whenever talks really do heat up again. Is it a week from now? Is it 2 weeks from now once he feels like he's been able to breathe a little bit down in Aruba? I don't know. But there was time to talk. And he said the Red Sox did not bring a legit offer, numbers to the table. What is taking so long? And by the way, Bloom, when he was in Tampa Bay, he was a senior vice president of baseball ops. Another term. Another way to phrase it.
Sure. Whatever. I mean, he had power. He had power. So, it's just something to keep an eye on. The fact that those meetings took place, and maybe Devers was in there, maybe he wasn't. I don't know. Patrick?
Yeah. Also, just a quick side note to that don't do negotiations in season. I agree with you, Jarrod. I think I would ask that I don't get asked questions if I'm Xander. I don't get asked questions, every week. How's the deal going? I'll let you know when there's an update. I would ask the reporters of that. I wouldn't want to get asked about it all the time, unless there was something happening. But I would, fucking let's go. But I will also say though that is more or less just a play. Everything's just a play here in negotiation tactics. If there's nothing stopping, Xander saying I don't negotiate in season, there is nothing. I can promise you he'd negotiate if they said, hey, I'll give you 6 years for $30 million. It's not stopping the Red Sox from coming in with a legitimate offer to, if Scott Boras is going to answer the phone call and you tell him, you give him a legitimate offer. Oh, well, listen, maybe I'll give Xander a call. He doesn't want to talk in season, but I'll give him a call. It's nothing stopping them from doing it. So them saying, well, Xander didn't want to negotiate in season, that's why we didn't do anything. That's nonsense. You're not ready to give him an actual number here, and you're hoping that Xander has a bad year so you can push his number further down. That's what's going on there. That's the only thing that's going on there. Speaking of our counterpart here in the Bronx, I did find it interesting to see Brian Cashman talk about one of the best bets on himself in Aaron Judge and what he's done. I mean, you're pretty much. I mean, there aren't anything you can do to drive Aaron Judge's prices down right now, but it is interesting to hear a GM say, we have to give him a fuck ton of money pretty much. So I've never heard a GM come out and say that. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. I mean, he told you up front, hey, I'm betting on myself, and went out and hit 62 home runs, almost won the Triple Crown. He's going to win the MVP. So, yeah, good for Aaron Judge.
Yeah.
Good for Aaron Judge. But, yeah, I still believe in my heart that Xander's coming back. I still believe that. Until I see something that makes me go, oh, fuck, I still believe that anything else that's kind of like, what was the Red Sox stats thing the other day?
Yeah, Stats had a tweet yesterday from Robert Murray's podcast, and he does some great stuff where it seemed like really the main point that Stats put out was that there's a real shot that Bogaerts leaves the Red Sox. I listened through it because I was curious. Murray didn't even know that Boras was Bogaerts' agent. They looked it up in the middle of the podcast while they're talking. That's not to derail anything or any of his credibility, but like, I'm guessing if you're looking for someone that's listening and very close to the situation, if they don't know that Boras is Bogaerts' agent, it can't be that close.
They got you to click on it, Tyler. That's all they were looking for.
That's it.
That's all they were looking for. But I just want to clarify my point on Xander. I believe that Xander comes back and plays for the Red Sox. I believe he hits free agency. And I believe that the Red Sox don't even have to come in with the best offer to sign him. That encompasses what my 3 beliefs are around this situation, and I believe the Red Sox do just that. I don't think the Red Sox pay him more than anyone else is willing to offer him because I think Dave Dombrowski's an absolute fucking lunatic. But I do believe they give him a fair offer that gets him to sign back in Boston.
And that's coming from a Boras guy.
Boras guy.
Print that.
Stamp it. Stamp Boras on it.
Seal of approval.
Mm-hmm.
From Scott Boras himself.
Yep. Scott literally just told me to say that. I just said. I just did it, Scott. Don't worry.
The NFL action is in full swing at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. We're talking touchdowns, big plays, and even bigger wins. New customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win and get $200 in free bets if they do. Check this out. In addition to the usual bets, everyone can boost their winnings with DraftKings stepped-up same-game parlays. Head on down to Green Rock. Betting is legal in New Jersey. You can go put in your bet slips there. Go have a nice little beverage. Go get a nice little Blue Moon. Have some drinks with Pat Light. Watch some NFL. That's a Giants bar, right?
Yeah, Giants bar, but McSwilbo's is Patriots.
Oh, okay. Head on down to McSwilbo's if you're a Patriots fan in Hoboken, New Jersey. Put in your bet slips there. To make things even sweeter, you can throw down on stepped-up same-game parlays once per game all season long. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use the promo code Jarrod to get $200 in free bets if your team wins when you place a $5 bet on any football game. That is promo code Jarrod, only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See the show notes for details. We've been waiting for this for a long time, Pat.
Okay.
People are excited for it.
Oh, fuck me.
Let's go.
People are excited for this. People have been waiting. It's been a long time. But it is now time for the return of Pat's Picks. Pat's Picks, baby. First one of the offseason. Pat's Picks. This week, the top 5 museums. Top 5 museums. And just so that everyone knows, the rules of Pat's Picks are that if he uses, if we're able to track down Google search a list that already exists, he has to donate $10,000 to charity of our choosing if he does that. So $10,000 to charity if he uses a list that we can find on Google. So Pat, you've had many weeks to prepare. Pat's Picks, top museums. Coming in at number 5.
Coming in $10,000, Jarrod.
$10,000 to charity.
To a charity of my choosing?
Our choosing.
$1,000 to charity.
Now, let me add some rules and regulations here because that's a ton of money. If you find a list that has, because my top museums are going to be other people's top museums.
Yeah.
Like if it's
it just can't be in the same order. Like we just better not find, like I want your, like these are Pat's picks. Like this is not like, hey, Pat, tell me the 5 most popular museums in the world. Like it's like Pat's picks. Like your favorite is not going to be everyone else's favorite.
No,
Pat's picks. All right, top 5 museums in the world. $10,000 to charity if plagiarism is detected.
If plagiarism is detected, of course, I would never plagiarize anything. First off, thank you everyone for signing into this. I'm really happy to be doing this.
People are pumped. You not hear the crowd?
There's a lot of mixed reviews on this. I think you only see the positive ones.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Top 5.
Coming in at number 5.
Coming in at number 5 is, of course, the Tokyo National Museum.
What's there? What's in there?
So funny enough, the Tokyo Museum was established in 1872.
That's fucking old, dude.
Yeah, well, listen, it's been a great museum for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and it's got some pretty cool statues in it.
Mm-hmm.
And it focuses, though, on the Japanese art and Asian art along the Silk Road. And the Silk Road, yeah, you're familiar with the Silk Road, Jarrod.
I am, yeah.
Yeah, that is where the Silk. I see. Here's the thing with museums, guys. I don't want to say something is offensive because this is people's history, and that we're talking about here. So I'm just gonna. You guys all know what the Silk Road is, so we're just gonna keep on moving.
Yeah, a lot of silks.
A lot of silks.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of.
What do you love about it? What do you love about that museum?
Well, obviously, everyone knows the when you're talking about the Tokyo National Museum, the first thing everyone comes to mind are what, Tyler? First thing
that museum?
Yeah, you know that museum. First thing, right in your head, just say it.
I don't want to get canceled like Pat.
That's true.
Great innovation of technology.
Of course. Yeah, see, great of technology, of course. That's what everyone thinks of when they first think about this museum. So the technology back in the late 1800s, or actually late 1700s in Tokyo, was that of an arrangement of things that really led the way to what we call today cell phones and things of that nature. So it was a really big time in Japan. And without it, I'm not sure we ever even get to this. I don't even think we'd be able to do a podcast. The first ever podcast was in a little town right outside of Tokyo called Meritage. And that is actually the first ever recorded podcast, and it was recorded in 1807.
How the fuck did they do that?
So yeah, obviously we say podcast today.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, what they were doing was they were using their words in a cave-like fashion.
Okay.
It would bounce off all these walls.
The walls.
And it would stay there for quite a while, so people could come and listen to it later. And that's how. And they would talk about interesting things that were happening in culture for that year. So people would come and listen. And that was pretty much a podcast. Obviously, you can't do it on the phone. You didn't have that technology then, but they had it in caves.
They had it in caves. Okay.
Yeah, podcasts in caves. Whew. Okay, number 4.
Coming in at number 4.
Number 4. And this one, listen, everyone's very familiar with, let's see here, the Vatican museums. Everyone knows the Vatican museums. And obviously, Jake, when you hear Vatican museums, first thing you think of is...
Pat, is the website that you're using toropia.com?
Oh my God. Oh no. Oh no.
Oh.
Nope.
Pat.
Nope. It's not.
Pat.
Uh-huh.
Pat.
It's not.
Pat.
I'm not using any websites.
Pat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Actually, you know what, Jake? Can you that website that you just found? It is what's the order that the museums are in?
Well, the first one I see is Tokyo National, so that's what tipped me off.
What number
you just
is
sitting
it?
over there clicking on Google links?
It's right number 14, right, Jake?
Yeah.
Number 14. Okay.
And there's a mention of Silk Road.
There is a mention of Silk Road?
Yep.
Well, that's a very popular thing. Everyone knows Silk Road.
What was the town you told us about, Pat?
Meritage.
I thought that was the name of the podcast.
That's the town where the podcast was recorded.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not in the description.
All right.
See?
Okay. All right. Continue.
It's not a description because it's a complete made up town.
Oh, God.
Anyway. There's no
definitely
suburb of Tokyo called Meritage where they do podcasts in caves.
Sorry for trusting you.
I do appreciate that, Tyler, though. All right. Now, can I finish the Vatican museums? Jake?
Yes, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Jake. Last time I used him in the audience. All right. Back to the Vatican museums. Now, the first thing, what I was trying to get out of Jake, was the first thing you think of when you think of the Vatican museums is obviously those Michelangelo paintings up on the ceilings. Obviously, right? Everyone? And because of that, I almost would donate $10,000 to charities so I could stop doing this bit.
That's not a bit. This is what the people want.
Okay. Well, listen, the Vatican museums, this speaks for itself. The Vatican museums are the Vatican museums. So, that's where we're at. We're coming to number 1 now already?
Nope. 3.
Whew. Okay. Number 3. Let's go. Okay. Number 3, as everyone knows, is the Louvre.
The Louvre?
Is that how you pronounce that?
In France?
Well, so you're using. So yeah, I see what you're saying here. You're using the New Age pronunciation. I say the Louvre because it's the old age, old age pronunciation of it.
Wait, so you're talking about like the world famous, like the Mona Lisa, I believe, is in the Louvre, right?
Jarrod, it's Louvre.
The Louvre, yeah, the Louvre.
Thank you.
Yes, it's
the
there.
Mona Lisa's there? Okay.
Mona Lisa.
Okay, so all right, Jesus Christ, Pat. Anyway, I should fine you $10,000 just for not knowing what the Louvre is. Continue.
It's number 1 on this list, by the way.
I mean, as it should be. I mean, it's number 3 on Pat's picks, but
this is number 3.
I can't wait to see what's number 2 and number 1 if the Louvre is number 3 or the Louvre, whatever the fuck.
Louvre. I can't stand this. All right. Well, you sold me there, so I'll just move on to number 2 because that obviously was
no. I want to hear about the Louvre. Please.
Well, good news is there's many other types of things in and this is why I love it so much, is because it's not just a European museum. It also has many works of art from Egypt, over in Asia, Iceland, even some pieces in South America. So very as Jarrod says, the Louvre, very, very well-to-do museum that everyone is quite familiar with. And everyone's very, very pleased. Now, typically speaking, moving on to number 2, I would use here one particular museum, but we're not going to use that because it's in Russia, and we're not friends of Russia right now.
Right.
So we're going to go right to one of my favorites. If it's going to be number 2 on my list, so it's definitely one of my favorites, the Egyptian Museum in Cairo. Now, this is a spectacular museum. And if you're ever in Cairo, it's a must-see, an absolute must-see museum. And it's because it has, among a lot of things that it has, which is a very, has the mummies, all that good stuff, what you're looking for, but also famous artifacts from Tutankhamun's tomb, which King Tut, everyone is very familiar with King Tut, and it is a magnificent museum out in Cairo, and obviously an absolute must-see anywhere. Not anywhere. You have to be in Cairo for it. But if you're in Cairo, you got to do it. And then finally, and this is a straight number 1 because it not only is a museum, but it also hosts one of the most iconic events of the year. And it's right in our backyard, the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, a phenomenal museum that is just, it has things from...
It's better than the Louvre?
Much better than the Louvre. Anyone in the know.
I'm calling Coley. I'm calling Coley. This is...
I'm praying for you, Pat.
This is outrageous. This is terrible. You better pray to God he doesn't answer.
Oh, I'm praying.
You better pray to God.
He's got a family. Let him be. Let's move on.
Come on, Coley.
Your call has...
Fuck! You're so lucky,
All right.
dude.
Moving on. Metropolitan Museum of Art. Ladies and gentlemen, it has works from all over.
Okay.
Excuse me?
I just want to make sure that you talk about what's in it.
Yeah, it's got works from all over the world. According to my basic research here, it has over 2 million pieces, which is just outstanding. And it holds one of the most iconic of who's who events of the year every year, which some people hate, some people love. It's a whole thing, but it brings it all together. It's not just a museum, but a great place to hold a party, apparently. And everyone loves it. So the Metropolitan Museum of Art coming in at number 1. Ladies and gentlemen, Pat's Picks, the final edition of Pat's Picks, as this is the last one ever to be done. Congratulations to Pat for completing his stuff. And from now on, we are going to be using Tyler's ticks, which is things that annoy Tyler. And we're all looking forward to Tyler's ticks. Congratulations,
number one,
Tyler.
Pat. No.
Congratulations,
Number one.
Tyler. Nope.
Number
You're
one
right, so you're
tick,
announcing.
Pat.
Good, great.
Pat quitting on Pat's Picks. That's my number one tick.
Yep,
So please
listen,
continue.
My contract at DraftKings clearly states that a certain amount needs to be done. I have completed my amount. And then from there, Article A, Section B, this will be replaced with Tyler's ticks. So congratulations, Tyler, and best of luck to you.
Right. Next week on Pat's Picks, the top 5 aquariums. Yeah. The top 5 aquariums for all of our aquatic friends out there. People love a good penguin. People love a big ass 100-year-old turtle. Where can you find them? Tune in next week to Pat's Picks.
Didn't I do aquariums already?
No.
I thought I did. Okay.
Nope.
Top 3 aquariums.
Top 5 aquariums.
Yep.
Sounds like you could use a blue moon, right? Have you had a blue moon recently?
I had one recently.
Okay. Because baseball and beer go hand in hand, and Blue Moon is the perfect playoffs companion with its bold flavor, bright explosion of color, iconic orange slice ritual, and authentic ballpark roots. In fact, Blue Moon was born in a ballpark at the Sandlot Brewery in Denver, Colorado. From a playoff berth to a world championship, a Blue Moon guarantees a one-of-a-kind beer experience every single time. I'm going to be having some Blue Moons this weekend because me and Jake are going to Seattle. Thank you. Going to Seattle. Going to go watch the Seattle Mariners play some playoff baseball. It's the only place I got to go across the country to see playoff baseball. I live across the street from Fenway Park. I got to go across the country to watch playoff baseball. We're going to see the Seattle Mariners this weekend. I'll be drinking Blue Moons with my pal Jake. From its refreshing flavor with Valencia orange peel for a subtle sweetness and hints of coriander, Blue Moon Belgian White is one-of-a-kind beer that's made brighter. It's carefully crafted and full-flavored with refreshing notes and a smooth, creamy finish. Why strike out with the same old beer when you can get something that's one-of-a-kind? Best served with a signature orange garnish to showcase its beautiful hazy color. A beer this good only comes around once in a blue moon, but you can enjoy it all season long. Break out of your same old beer slump. Blue Moon Belgian White is a one-of-a-kind beer every time. Get Blue Moon Belgian White delivered by visiting get.bluemoonbeer.com/Jarrod to see your delivery options. That is get.bluemoonbeer.com/Jarrod. Blue Moon made brighter. Celebrate responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado Ale. Tyler, what was the other thing that you said that we needed to hit on? Pat, if you need to go, you can go. I know you have dinner. I just want to make sure we got Pat's Picks in there.
Thank you for making sure you get that in.
I just want to get it in. People want it. Pat's picks. Pat's picks.
Pat's pick.
Pat's
Pat's
picks.
picks.
Pat's picks. Everyone wanted it. When we were at the Cask and Flagon for the watch party, how many people came up to you and they were like, dude, Pat's picks, best segment on the show?
Literally not a single person.
Literally everyone. I know.
That is a lie.
Yeah, a lot of people did that.
Listen, drunkie, you don't even know what happened at Cask.
People came up to me about Pat's picks. Okay, I recall
Not
it
a
greatly.
single person came up to you about Pat's picks besides saying,
A lot of people have.
We need Tyler's ticks.
None of that. Nobody wants any of that.
How about Jake's Jamba Juice?
No.
Jared's. It's tough that you have two J's here. So all I had was Jamba Juice.
This is getting sad, Pat.
Whatever. Anyway.
Okay. So the thing we didn't talk about, which I think many people were stabbed in the heart over, was Kyle Schwarber playing Dancing on My Own after the Phillies advanced from the wild card round.
Here's the thing, right? I don't like gatekeeping. I don't. Like when I saw that Contreras of the Braves was using Timmy Trumpets as a walk-up song. I didn't say, oh, don't do it. I was just like, that's a little bit, it's weird because it's already been established. I'm just saying I wouldn't do it because I would know that that's an established thing for Edwin Diaz. And then you have the Phillies clinching against the St. Louis Cardinals in the wild card round to advance the division series against the Atlanta Braves. And they are playing Dancing on My Own in the clubhouse to celebrate, which is interesting because Kyle Schwarber is on that Phillies team and he was a part of the 2021 Boston Red Sox. And I'm not saying that he suggested it. I don't think he did. I don't know. I truly don't know the backstory. I have no idea. So I saw it. I didn't tweet about it. That's how you know that I'm not that fired up about it because I didn't even tweet about it. But I did see it and I was just like, huh, that's weird. And the first thing I thought of was, what does Jake think about this? Because I know Jake is a big Dancing on My Own guy. And my first thought wasn't, how do I feel about this? It was, how does Jake feel about this? And I didn't ask him because I was waiting for this moment to ask him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. It hurts. It hurts.
Yeah, doesn't it? It just brings back old. Go ahead.
It's just because you see how they're feeling. It's like, that's how I was feeling last year with that exact same song. So like, well, I understand. I mean, it's a banger. So I don't hate them for playing it, but it's just hard to bring up old memories and know that that's them and not me.
When I saw it, I think my first thought wasn't, I don't want the Phillies to be doing this. My first thought was, man, I missed the 2021 Boston Red Sox. It wasn't so much, hey, give me that back. That belongs to me. It was, man, I really missed that team. And, you know, living in the Fenway area now, walking around, I've got to look at Fenway Park every fucking day. And knowing that when I wake up in the morning for this entire month, I know that I can still watch baseball. I cannot watch Red Sox baseball. And I made last October, I made a playlist of all the Red Sox songs from 2021. Like there were a bunch of like walk-up songs. Obviously, Dance on My Own. The song that they would play like before the games would start. There was just like a bunch of different like Red Sox 2021 themed songs. And I just remember that whole month, just in my car, wherever, they're just playing all those songs. And it fired me up. Like it would just breathe energy into my soul. And now, if I listen to those songs, they make me really sad. Because if you go back to the Kevin Plawecki interview, I talked about how that team should have won the World Series. Like that earlier in the show, when I talked about tweeting out the Kyle Schwarber Grand Slam, that was really the last fun moment of that year. Like it was all downhill from there. And when he hit that grand slam, I'm sure a lot of fans can relate to this. I was like, there's no fucking way the Red Sox aren't going to the World Series. Once they get there, who knows? Obviously, the Braves end up winning the World Series. They're a great team. I don't know how that series would have went with the Red Sox offense and all that, but they just had something. It was like 2018 was dominant. 04, it was fate. 07 was just a bunch of homegrown guys. I know Tyler fucking sucks their dicks. I don't know. This is the fourth best championship. But they had those like 13 vibes where it's like, we're not supposed to be here, but we are. And since we are here, we're going to do something about it. Like 13 and 21. That's, I don't love the comparison, but that dynamic I did love. How it was the we're not supposed to be here, but since we are, fuck it, let's go out and win a World Series. And it felt like they were going to do that after the Schwarber Grand Slam. Like it just did.
I think even like comparing 08 to last year, like where you were in the ALCS, you were right there. Obviously, they get to Game 7, back in 08 and everything. We don't look at 08 like that. If anything, it's painful to think about that stuff. I still think even with 2021, you feel some of the, obviously it didn't end the way you wanted to, but there's good memories. There's so much positivity surrounding that still. And I think that's where it really hurts. Like I was watching that video and I love Kyle Schwarber, do your thing. It just felt like I was watching my old girl at our spot with her new guy. And that's what hurts because Kyle Schwarber should be here singing. He should be part of this clubhouse, being that leader. You looked at all those party videos. Who was in the center of all of them? Kyle Schwarber, pouring beer, dancing, still showing the moves. That's not here anymore. And to see him in the center of it all, it sucks. It's nothing personal. Kyle Schwarber, it's a great song. But I think if it was another team, I wouldn't have cared where there was no Red Sox connection. It just hurts because it's like I'm watching my ex. And who wants to go through that?
Mm. Yeah. I don't want this to be a what the fuck Kyle thing because that's not how I feel. I don't feel that way. But I'm sure even he was probably like, this is fucking weird. like you can't, like, he probably felt like it was deja vu or that it's like, this song again? What? Like,
I don't know. I'm curious if that's just like he fell in love with the song. It was part of the playoff run. Like, for all we know, they were bumping that after wins this year. It looked like everyone in the clubhouse was singing it, or at least a couple of the guys. So it definitely wasn't the first time everyone was hearing it. So I just wonder if this has been part of their playlist. Schwarber loves the song. And, as the year goes along, you play some songs in the clubhouse, they stick. This was their way to celebrate. Like, this might just be his good vibe, like, happy moment song. And it's hard to take that away from him because, like, look at how much fun he had.
Mm-hmm.
It's just you wish that was you. Like, you know what I mean? You wish you were in that spot and we're not. And it's just, all right, we got to take it.
Mm. I totally didn't even realize Pat left.
He just looked deeply into the camera and then it dropped off.
Well, I do love that. There's something that I'm sitting on that I can't quite say yet.
I'm very curious. You have that look on your face.
I've been working on it this whole podcast.
Can you tell us what it's in relation to? You could just say a name. You could say
it's not a name. It's a thing. Yeah. I think by the end of the World Series, I'll be able to say.
Is it more podcast related?
Kinda, but it's there's a Red Sox tie-in for sure. But I've been I've been working the lines this whole show because I wanted to know what the deal was, and I kind of know what the deal is. So we'll see where that goes. We'll see how that develops.
Did it get triggered by the conversations we were having, or was this something you were interesting? Okay.
Yeah, it was.
While you were digging through those text messages of yours, did it spark something?
No, it's not related to anything that we've talked about yet on this episode.
I think I know what you're talking about. But I don't want. I'm not going to say it. But I think I know what you're talking about. I think people would enjoy that a lot.
Yeah. But again, like that you know what the most annoying part about being me is? People want me to know stuff, but they don't want the people that I know to know the stuff. And a lot of stuff gets told to me, and it always gets added like, don't tell anyone. Off the record, but keep this between us, but a lot of that.
But
so when
see,
everyone's
you're
like,
trusted.
oh, you just want people to know that you know stuff and you just like to tease us. No, dude, I'm the one being teased. The whole part of like being told stuff is being able to tell other people. That's the fun part. I don't enjoy being like, hey, I know something you don't know. I don't fucking like that. I hate that.
I feel like you're very good about, you know, you never say it, but you know, when you feel the time is right, you can leave some trails that people who are smart and kind of piece things together, they can have an idea, or that listen to all the episodes. I think some people who are listening right now that heard you say it hasn't been referenced on this episode, text messages. If you've been listening throughout the season, you know those text messages go to a certain select group between Jarrod and people inside the Red Sox organization. Yeah. Player, front office, whatever you want to say. Mm-hmm. Jarrod has favorites. And there's some that he communicates with more often than not.
Mm-hmm.
And some with certain timing, considering everything going on right now.
A lot of stuff going on.
Some people make more sense than others.
It's true. The fuck is going on?
That is loud.
People just drive down this street and they don't give a fuck. It's great. Yeah. So as soon as I can tell you, I'll tell you. I don't keep stuff as long as I want or as long as I have to. So
I'm fully sure we're going to get some dreams and some other things in the coming weeks as well. So I'm not too concerned.
We'll have dreams. Yeah. I think it's the other thing too. It's interesting because this is a new show. This is the first year of this podcast. It's interesting to learn who listens. Like I think over the course of this year, it's been brought to my attention. There are some interesting people plural, that listen to the show, and we appreciate them tuning in.
Anyone that surprises you, Jarrod, or you wouldn't expect, not a name, but just you were caught off guard when they may have reached out to you.
I wouldn't say surprised, but more flattered. You know, I think it's more like, oh fuck, that's cool. I didn't realize, because I'll just like say shit on this podcast, and then next thing you know, like it's getting quoted on Twitter. I'm like, fuck. Like I usually treat this podcast like how, you know, if someone would come up to me at a bar in Boston and be like, yo, so tell me like the lowdown on like what's been going on. I'd be like, all right, so listen up, here it is. But you don't realize that people are actually listening on here and that it gets outside the podcast community.
Like you said, you were very good about that conversation we had with Will a couple episodes ago about a player we had spoken about involving a newspaper story. And you said people, if they came up to you and asked, you were willing to say who it was.
Yeah. Someone came up to me at dinner and was like, all right, so tell me who the Bruins player is and tell me who that story was about. And I was like, here you go. That's what it is.
Open book.
Just
depends on where you're at and the time.
Yeah. The truth is, I really did not know that Bruins player's name. Like, I was like, you have to guess it and I'll know it if I hear it, but I really don't know his name. And that's not me being like, I'm too big for you to know your name. I don't really follow hockey that closely.
Big night tonight.
But the Braves?
Oh.
But hockey's back?
Yeah, Bruins start tonight.
Oh, the Bruins start tonight. Jake, are you excited for that?
I kind of forgot, honestly.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
how have you been handling the offseason so far? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. I just I'm doing this new thing. I think I said it last episode where I'm taking my TV on my deck and just watching all the playoff games. So like with the fall weather, it's honestly been pretty relaxing.
Yeah. I could see that.
You don't seem impressed.
Well, I mean, I just thought he'd be more down. I'm not saying like he should be. I'm happy to hear that he's not, you know, struggling because of the offseason. I think when we really say the Red Sox don't make the playoffs, you don't really feel that loss until you don't have baseball, or at least that's how I feel. I don't feel the loss of the Red Sox until it's like, hey, baseball's over and you're not getting another meaningful game until April, and it's like November 3rd.
Yeah, the playoff baseball helps, but I will also say it feels like the Red Sox haven't played in 6 months. I feel like it's been forever since I watched the Red Sox.
Yeah.
It's been a week.
I also hate that like my birthday is right around opening day. So like I only feel alive during baseball season. So it's like I live in 7-month intervals. So the off season is really just an empty space for me. So it's like the season is going to end in a few weeks. Then I'm gonna be like, fuck, another year older. Like, goddamn.
Well, that's why we've been working on some things in your personal life to make sure that, this off season isn't as cold. Maybe you just don't delete everything that happens over the next 4 or 5 months, and there's things to enjoy, things to be happy about.
Yeah.
People to watch horror movies with.
Yeah. 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 And go shopping with.
Yeah. And listen, they may not even like horror movies that much, but they may be willing to do them for you.
A lot of these people don't like horror movies. A lot of these people
Cowards.
just don't. But you know what? It's a nice way to say that I'm putting your interests ahead of my fears. Like that's a nice connection point.
Some would consider it touching, almost gentlemanlike.
Yeah, I think it's a nice gesture. I know, Jake, you saw a smile.
Yeah, I saw a smile.
How was it?
I'm not really a huge horror movie guy, but my girlfriend wanted to see it, so I saw it. And
See, look at that.
Wow.
Look at that. Jake,
there-
not a big horror movie guy. His girlfriend wanted to see it, and he was like, you know what? I'm going to go see it because that's how you show you care. You want to do this, so we're going to do it. Doesn't matter if I want to do it.
yeah, there was like 4 or 5 times where I just completely jumped, and the person next to me was probably like, what the fuck? But
Yeah, what's this guy's deal?
yeah,
I'd expect you to be more composed, Jake. I wouldn't see you jumping in a movie theater.
it's just like the jump scares where it's like I'm just chilling, like not really paying attention, and then they just boom, hit you in the face. It's just like, just relax.
Yeah. Interesting. Tyler, you a scary movie guy?
I love horror movies, but do I watch a ton? No. I like to be scared. I like that feeling. I like haunted houses. I like that kind of stuff.
Oh,
Listen, I don't feel many things. It takes a lot for me to have emotion or get excited about something. So when something scares the shit out of me, I get kind of into it.
you know what? I got an idea. How about there's going to be an off night during the World Series at some point.
Yep.
Because I know that like the off nights for the LCS, it's just like, I don't think that there might be, I don't know if there's going to be a complete off day for the LCS.
They're usually really good about making it so it goes back and forth the entire
Yeah. But during the World Series, there will be an off night. And you know what? I think we should go on a triple date to a haunted house, Jake. How do you feel about that?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm down.
We'll go on a triple date to a haunted house.
Listen, I think that would be quite romantic of all of us.
I think so too. Be a nice bonding experience.
We're connecting everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Martha obviously met Jake's girlfriend, but
Should I ask
you know-
Pat?
would Pat be willing to come?
I'm gonna call him right now.
Yeah, let's get him on.
Let's get Pat Light on the phone.
Haven't heard from him in a while.
Yeah.
He's not picking up.
Jared,
Patrick.
are you still on the fucking show?
Yes.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, I got a question for you.
What's up?
So me, Jake and Tyler were talking about during the World Series, there's going to be like an off night somewhere during that series where there's no baseball whatsoever. Would you be interested in coming to a haunted house on a quadruple date with us?
Where's the haunted house?
We're going to find one that, I don't know, maybe, maybe we can make a weekend out of it. I don't know. I don't know when the off days would be. But if we can make it convenient for you, would you want to join us on a quadruple date?
Yeah, I'd certainly entertain the idea. It's a quadruple date, so I'm bringing a girl to this?
Yes.
No, we don't judge. It could be anybody.
I appreciate that. So, all right. Well, yeah, I'm certainly open to the idea. I got to know a little bit in advance so I can figure out who the hell I'm going to bring. But yeah, let's do it.
That would be tremendous if you were able to pull this off. A quadruple date with the boys. What about Pete? You think Pete B would come with a girl?
Well, listen, I think you got to call him.
I'm going to call him.
All right.
I'm going to call him right now. All right. So you're in.
I'm in.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Goodbye.
Okay, bye.
We got a
All right, let's
squad
call Pete.
right now. 8 people.
What is
Pete?
it? What a double date, triple date, quadruple date. So it was a quintuple date?
Yep.
All right, let's call Pete. What did he say he was doing tonight?
I think he's working.
Yeah, but he'd still answer the phone, I bet. Oh, because hockey's back, right?
Yeah.
Hello.
Peter!
Hey,
What's up, man?
how are you?
Good, how are you?
Lovely.
Good. So I know that hockey's starting tonight, right?
I started last night, but yeah,
Started last night. Yeah. Go Bruins.
that's right.
Yep. So we're doing the podcast.
What podcast?
It's Name Redact. It's a Red Sox podcast.
Okay, cool. Check it out.
Yeah. So we got talking, right? And Jake and Tyler and myself, we were going to go on a triple date to a haunted house on one of the off nights during the World Series. And then I called Pat L, and he said he would be down to do it. So now it went from a double date to a triple date to a quadruple date, and now we're trying to see if you want to make it a quintuple date.
What's the actual date?
I mean, we're flexible right now. We haven't picked a date. It's just sometime in October. There's going to be an opening for us to go to a haunted house when there's a night with no baseball. I know that that's unfair to you because there's probably going to be hockey, but it's the World Series, so we're trying to sneak somewhere in there with an off day so that we can do a quintuple date.
If I'm around in the city, I'm absolutely down. It sounds like a great time.
Do you have you don't have to name names, obviously. Is there a girl that you would bring that would be down with haunted houses? Because we don't want negative energy. Like, we don't want a girl that's going to be like, I don't like that. Like, we don't want that.
No, I think we should be all right.
Okay.
Ooh.
All right. So that's like a maybe. That's like a probably yes. Like that's a we'll figure it out.
It's a give me a date and I will give you a yes or a no.
I want to work with you on the date. I want to work with you to find a date that you can do.
Okay, well, it can't be between the 27th or 29th.
All right. That's something to work with.
Yeah. I mean, we can figure this out.
Pete sounded very confident about his date, so I actually have a little faith in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you mean? What do you mean confident about my date?
You didn't have to think. No, you just didn't seem like you had to think about it, which I think is a good sign. Like you had someone in mind.
No, like if anything, I'm going to be the pussy in the haunted house.
Okay. All right. Do you have any Red Sox takes or no?
Glad the season's over.
Yeah, me too. Me too. All right. We can take this offline, and we'll work with you on finding a date that works.
Perfect.
All right. It's good talking to you.
You too, pal.
All right. Bye. PP, everybody. It's PP. All right, so I guess we're going on a quintuple date to a haunted house.
I'm fully ready for it.
Yeah. I think it would be like, because I'm sure the girls won't want to be part of the content. They can just put on spooky masks.
Wow, this is good. Jarrod, you've already got this. You're walking down the lane a little bit here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I won't be absolutely drunk out of my mind either, so I'll be composed.
No, you should
enough.
be. I think we should have a couple drinks before. We should have some blue moons.
Hey, listen, I don't mind getting loose. You guys know that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's going to be a good time. I'm interested. I'm more interested to see who Pete B and Pat L bring as dates.
I thought they were going to bring each other. Like, I thought that was going to be the route from them. That it'd be the true duo.
But that would fuck up. Then it would just be a quadruple date.
Yeah.
I want the quintuple date.
We're going to roll deep. 10 people showing up to a haunted house.
Squad.
That is a squad.
Mm-hmm.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
You got a place in mind? Is there a haunted house spot in Boston that people go to?
I haven't been to a haunted house in 18 years. I think the last time I went was literally like in 2004.
Jesus Christ.
Which is crazy to think that 2004 has been 18 years, right? Right?
Yeah. 2022. Yeah. 18.
I was like talking to my parents about that the other night. I was like, it's crazy that like that was almost 20 years ago. Like I still remember it like it was yesterday.
See, this is how I'll feel in like 10 years when I think about 07.
I mean,
like, this is how it'll
the
play in
fact
my
that
head.
fucking 2013 was almost 10 years ago is crazy.
I can't picture what that's going to be like. Next year, that will be a whole thing. They'll probably bring back everybody. They'll have a huge celebration. 10 years.
I mean, you can't have the fucking, that was it. So someone posted, it's another Red Sox podcast. It's like something on Pod on Lansdowne, I want to say.
Yeah.
They posted Mike Napoli hitting a home run off Justin Verlander. They were just posting like a bunch of like Red Sox postseason home runs off of Justin Verlander. And Mike Napoli went back into the dugout, and I just like, it hit me then when he's like high-fiving everyone in the dugout. I was like, half these guys are fucking big league managers or coaches somewhere right now. Like, you can't do a 10-year 2013 reunion because Mike Napoli's the first base coach for the Cubs. David Ross is the manager of the Cubs. Johnny Gomes, I don't think he is anymore, but he was a coach with the D-backs. Who else from that team? I mean, David Ortiz is doing. You can get David Ortiz back. Middlebrooks is in the booth with Nesson, so that'll be an easy one to get back. Steven Drew, I'm sure he's going to take a pass. Xander's still on the team for now.
Yeah, it would be a journey.
Pedroia,
but I think
you could get back.
Yep. I think if you did it the right way, maybe you can't get David Ross. Obviously, he has to manage the game. I bet we could get Mike Napoli. But it would feel wrong.
Do the Cubs come here next year?
Oh my God, that might be the perfect
You'd have
time.
to do it then. Because I know that we went there this year. Does that mean that they come here next year? It must, because they didn't come here like with the new schedule and everything.
Yeah, hold on. Let's
look
find
that up.
this. Is there anyone else from that team that is still managing or like in coaching? I'm trying to think in my head right now. Quentin Berry, I think he has a spot somewhere. He's working in baseball now. I remember seeing his name recently. I don't know. I actually do not see a series against the Cubs at Fenway Park.
All right. Then maybe we'll just do the 11-year.
That's depressing. You have to do 10.
How do you have a reunion without David Ross and Mike Napoli?
They got to be there. You need to find a way. A night off, a mutual off day, maybe, or they have an off day and they can come here for a night. There has to be a way. You're telling me with everything, with the marathon and all that, they'd have to find a way. There's no way about it. Wherever Jose Iglesias is playing, he's going to have to come by. He's another one.
Jake Peavy, he's with MLB Network. There's like a 2013, where are they now? And it's like they've got like they're not just like retired ball players. They're just sitting out back on their porch, like spitting dip into a tin can, shooting deer. It's like these guys are working in baseball.
What's Shane Victorino doing these days?
I don't know. He agreed to do the podcast last year. Whenever we were on that heater for Section 10, when it was like, we did like 5 episodes in a row. Like I think it was in the off season. I was just like super motivated to like hit guys up to come on the podcast. And it was just like bang, 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 bang. Like we just got like a bunch of guests in a row. And he was supposed to be part of that. I don't remember why it didn't happen, but he gave me his cell phone number. He's like, let's do it. And it just didn't end up happening. I don't remember why, but he was down.
He'd be one of the best interviews ever, without a doubt. If we could get him on this podcast, I think he'd give us one of the best.
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely do it. I mean, this offseason, I'm definitely going to like start hitting up dudes to come on, because I'm not going to fucking sit here every week and talk about Xander Bogaerts. Just not doing it.
We need some fun. Let's go back. Let's relive some of these nice memories. And I think that's the only thing that will get us through this offseason. Like eventually when things do come and go, like you said, you don't feel the real pain until we get through the World Series. When there's no baseball for anyone to watch, when the most excitement you get is that tweet from John Heyman or insert somebody else that you have interest in somebody, looking back, that's what you live off of. That's what can get you hyped. And I think Shane Victorino is a better place to start. Maybe someone from, who's leaving Boston now. Maybe that becomes a conversation, but there's way too many names.
Who else have we met? Daniel Nava. I think
that
what was he? He was legendary. A coach too. But I think he was one of the coaches that got let go because he didn't want to get the vax.
I think you're right.
Yeah. There was like some sort of like movement or union of coaches that were trying to get attention for like, it sucks that we're losing our jobs because we won't get the vax. And I think he was one of them. Who else? Ellsbury. Ellsbury came back for Dustin Pedroia's retirement party. That was the night that I met him for the first time. And I was just like super awkward. And I was like, bro, I have your name tattooed on me. It's like, don't worry. It's not for you. It's for my dog. But like, look at.
God. Ryan LaVarnway had some time on that 2013 team as well.
Did he really?
Yeah.
I only remember him from 2011.
How many games did we get out of Ryan LaVarnway in 2013?
The thunderous ovation when Mike Karp comes back to Fenway.
I was about to say the Mike Karp interview. We got 25 games of Ryan LaVarnway in 2013. And you know what? 299, 329, 429,
there
758.
There you go.
He showed up.
Johnny Gomes was like the primary left fielder on that team.
It was him and Nava. It was like platoon him.
Yeah, Nava was out and right a little bit. Victorino. Having Victorino in right field really was a turning point for the organization, where they were like, defensively, we have to have 2 center fielders. Like we have to have a center fielder in right and we have to have a center fielder in center. And Victorino changed that dynamic, and it was like, yep, this makes a lot of sense.
It was like the start of that trend because they got Cody Ross, who could actually play a little defense in right field, and was like, oh, this is nice. This is different.
JD Drew is one of the best right fielders in baseball history.
Extremely underrated. And people, I tweeted something like 2 or 3 weeks ago about JD Drew that, like, just underappreciated. I think it was a throwback to his walk-off back in the ALCS in 2008. And people are still filled with so much hatred whenever his name comes up. I couldn't believe it. I was in shock.
JD Drew is one of the best baseball players to ever put on a Red Sox uniform.
That's a claim.
John Lackey. Do you think if they had a reunion, I think John Lackey's saying fuck off. I don't even think he's showing up.
Oh, he would do it for the boys. He wouldn't do it for anyone else, but he'd do it for the boys.
He would do it for the boys. You're right.
If David Ross and Mike Napoli weren't there, I don't think he would show up.
He would show up for Lester. They're literally neighbors.
True. Yeah, that would be the one. Clay, right? And
Clay.
That would be one for you.
Oh, man. Clay coming back. How do you think? I mean, Clay, I hope I hope that Clay would get a nice ovation. I just don't know that. I guess it depends on what the Red Sox record is. Like if they have the reunion and it's like June 16th and the Red Sox are 20 games under 500, Clay's getting booed. He just is.
I don't know. Like I look at the Clay Buchholz era. Maybe it's just because I was like young at the time. I have so many good memories of Clay. They were bad. Don't get me wrong. There were some real tough times there. But like especially 2013. Like the dude had a 1.74 ERA. I know he only made 16 starts, but like, come on. There were some really high moments of Clay.
No doubt. I'm going to try and find if I still have my baseball show supercut of, yep, okay. This is a supercut of me just flaming Clay Buchholz on the baseball show. This is from May 2016.
Clay Buchholz. Buchholz.
Clay Buchholz. You're not too happy with Mr. Clay Buchholz.
No.
First off, do I need to say anything else?
Are we really hanging on to Clay Buchholz in hopes that he becomes the savior of this pitching staff? He's not a number 2. He's not a dependable starter. See all these gray hairs on the side of my head? Those are Clay Buchholz gray hairs. He's a mental case. If he gives up a home run, you kind of just roll your eyes and say, we'll get him tomorrow. He's the least dependable pitcher that the Red Sox have ever had.
So you're down on Buck?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, but like nothing there wasn't true. It was just like, it was one of those things when he was healthy and when things were right, it wasn't always super often, but when he was right, you saw what he was capable of. It wasn't that way most of the time.
The part where Lou is like, so you're not happy with Clay Buchholz. And it's I'm on one side of the screen and he's on the other, and they have one of my tweets up on the video board and it just says Clay Buchholz sucks.
I would say he's like the most high-end version of Nick Pivetta. Like Nick Pivetta, we see with the ups and downs over the course of a season. Clay could have those huge ups, and then it was more like it would define a year. Oh, God.
Is that backwards?
No, it's straight. I can see it.
Okay.
But hey, you fixed that relationship.
We're
you
fine
and Clay
now.
are cool. You're boys.
I don't know if I want to be boys. I don't know. I mean, I'm a changed man. I have changed. I have made changes in my life. And I think that if Clay and I sat down, we would be good. But I just remember, actually, you know what? We'll save it. We'll save it for the Clay Buchholz interview.
Oh,
it's going to happen. It has to. It has to happen at this point. And you know what? When he's in town for the 2013 reunion next year, I'm going to make sure that there is a formal face-to-face introduction, handshake, and a not just a FaceTime apology. I'm going to apologize to his face, and I'm not even gonna ask him. I'm not even gonna ask him to come on the podcast. I'm just gonna, Clay, nice to officially meet you. I'm sorry that I was an asshole all those years ago. That's on me. I've changed. I hope you can find it in your heart to accept my apology.
that's growth. I'm proud of you.
I mean, I feel like I have grown.
Listen, I think anyone in the moment, if you go back and have tweets, everybody had some bad tweets.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just part of the
said
game.
horrible things about players.
But now you can realize that. And I think, listen, Clay gave me some of my favorite baseball memories of my entire life.
That's
one of my first baseball memories is his no-hitter. Like, that's one of my first ones.
Was that September 1st, 2007?
Yeah. Or was it second? Was it the first? I can't remember.
It was one of those.
Oh.
It was his second start.
Yeah, of course. And I can see that curveball just dropping in, like hitting right there. And I was, at that time, I could barely even understand what a no-hitter was. I had to have my dad explain it to me. But that's always in my head. You say no-hitter, I think Clay, no matter what.
That was a good one.
Great one. Second start. Like, think about how wild that is.
It's pretty wild.
Those
I
are
think
some good
that's the one. Oh no, Lester is the one that Don Arcillo wishes he had back, because it was Claspo and he said Claspo strikes out.
Listen, in a moment
no
like
one's
that,
perfect. Hey, no one's perfect.
No, I will say the play Dustin Pedroia made in that game to save Clay's no-hitter on the ball up the middle is still one of the greatest plays I've ever seen.
And Clay Buchholz, I hope he gets a deafening ovation. Deafening.
What would you guess
thank you, Clay.
Yeah, what would you guess his ERA was as a member of the Red Sox? 1,100 innings here.
So Clay was an every other year guy. He had some high ERAs. He had some low ERAs. And the high ones were high. And the low ones were they were pretty good. I'm going to say his career ERA as a Red Sox was 4.11.
Lower.
Really?
But I'll say this, below 4.
389.
396.
Wow. Good for Clay. That's pretty good. Yeah, Clay.
Come on.
You know what? This guy deserves to be in the Red Sox Hall of Fame. And if I get a vote, he's got mine. Clay Buchholz, Red Sox Hall of Fame. I'm gonna put in a favor. I'm gonna text the Red Sox right now and say, you know what? I don't know what you guys are thinking for the Hall of Fame class of 2023, but it should include Clay Buchholz. I'm just saying. Because he was unbelievable in 2013. If he didn't get hurt, falling asleep or whatever he did, he was going to start the All-Star game that year.
And in the World Series, when he was throwing like absolute garbage, he had nothing in the tank. He was still getting outs.
Well,
He was throwing like, what was he hitting? Like 88 or whatever it was? Like absolutely nothing on those pitches and still getting by.
So Clay Buchholz, 2-time World Series champ. He didn't make the playoff roster in 2007, right? No. But you still get a ring for that. And Jarrod Saltalamacchia. He's done some Nesson work.
Yes, Salty. I always got a lot of love for Salty.
Same.
Another up and down, but the highs were high and obviously gave us one of our favorite walk-off moments in the postseason.
Everyone forgets that one.
Why?
I don't know. Overshadowed by the Grand Slam, I guess.
It has to be. But I can always picture Salty running away from everybody and just, keep going. That's one of my favorite moments of that postseason run.
I bet I don't know, because I guess it's not exactly the same if you go down to Fenway, but I don't know where you would find a group of Red Sox fans outside of Fenway. But if you were to ask 100 Red Sox fans right now, that game that David Ortiz hit the Grand Slam, they probably think that like as we get removed from it, people think that it was like a walk-off Grand Slam. Like, how did the Red Sox win that game? Like, David Ortiz's Grand Slam. No. How did they win the game? I don't remember. I bet you. I mean, obviously now the people that are listening right now, and you know the answer, you guys don't count. But there are definitely Red Sox fans out there that if you ask them right now, that game that David Ortiz hit the Grand Slam against the Tigers in Game 2 of the ALCS 2013, how'd the Red Sox win that game? They'd be like, People forget that one. I'm telling you.
He'll always have a special place in my heart because I felt like, obviously Tech retiring the year before, Salty coming in and kind of adjusting a top prospect that never really got to fulfill what he was supposed to fulfill. He never truly hit that ceiling, but I think we got glimpses of it here, and he fit in well. The Saltalamacchia thing, Nesson ran with that like constantly. How many little commercials or little things did they do based off his name during that time? I have a soft spot for him.
Can you spell it?
Oh, SALTAMACCIA.
No.
Puck.
Saltalamacchia.
There's
you forgot the M.
Oh god. No, was I that? Yeah, I did. All right,
yeah. Fuck that up.
Okay. That's embarrassing.
SALT. Wait, Jake, are you looking at it? Pull it up.
Yeah,
this is like a spelling bee. All right. Saltalamacchia. SALTAMACCIA. Saltalamacchia.
Oh, one letter off.
I fucking forgot the H?
Yep.
Forgot the H.
Fuck!
You fraud.
You forgot the M.
All right. Well, I'm not good at spelling. That's different.
Can you spell Minkiewicz?
Oh, fuck no.
I can do that one. Jake, pull up Minkiewicz. That one's easy. That's why the kids have like the fucking thing that they can write on. It's because it's hard to do it in your head. Do you get Doug Minkiewicz pulled up, Jake?
I got it.
Okay.
I remember who the fake player they put in MVP baseball 2005 was. That was
Minkiewicz wasn't in the game?
Nope.
All right. Minkiewicz. Mienkiewicz. Minkiewicz.
That's ridiculous.
Thank you.
I tried typing that into Google just to see it, and I couldn't even spell it close enough. They just brought up random shit.
Yeah,
Not bad.
That one's easy.
Are there any other?
I can't believe I fucked up Saltalamacchia. Like I usually drill that one.
Are there any other names that fit into that category?
I guess Garcia Parra, but it's just because it's long. That's the one. That one's easy.
Yeah.
What's like another difficult Red Sox name to spell?
I don't think there is any.
David Ardsma.
Legend. That's a legendary name right there. Was it double A's?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so.
David Ardsma. That's why he'll always show up first on the index of Red Sox players.
Oh, okay.
Double A. David Ardsma. Anyways, got to talk to you guys about our friends over at GameTime. October baseball is here. The crowds are buzzing, and thanks to GameTime, it's easier than ever to be there in person. Me and Jake are going to Seattle this weekend to see our Mariners, America's team, their first playoff game since 2001. Jake, how old were you in 2001?
4.
Jake was 4 the last time the Mariners played a home playoff game in Seattle. We're going there. Shout out to GameTime for the tickets. GameTime is the fastest growing ticketing app that guarantees the lowest price on tickets to all your favorite sports, concerts, and shows. You can see the view from your seat in the app, and checkout takes less than 30 seconds. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and redeem your code JARED, JARED, for $20 off your first purchase. Again, that is promo code JARED for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download the GameTime app. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. I guess that's it. I mean, it's fucking. We said we were gonna stop at 7:30 so we could watch the playoffs, and it's 7:50. So I'm gonna go watch some playoff baseball. How about you guys? Are you gonna watch some playoff baseball tonight?
1000%.
Wow.
You like that answer?
Yeah.
Listen, I'll be honest with you. I have heavy rooting interests for the Braves.
Okay. Why is that?
Because I do not want to listen to people talk about Dave Dombrowski for the next month. That will be the only narrative I hear, and I will not stand for it. I will not listen to it. Please, anything but that. I don't want to hear that Dave Dombrowski got the Phillies just as far as the Red Sox got in 2021. I don't want to hear any of that, even though they did go over the luxury tax. The Red Sox got to the ALCS without the luxury tax. I just don't want to hear it.
That's a good point. I wasn't even thinking of that.
Just saying. But that will be the main narrative. Look at Dave Dombrowski. Look at the Phillies. Look at Kyle Schwarber.
Hey Xander, look at what you could be a part of. You could help us get over the hump.
And if they get eliminated like the Red Sox do, what is Dombrowski going to do? He's going to go get the guy that he thinks puts him over the hump. I think even them getting to the NLDS is not great. I don't like that even. You know me. We talked on this pod, 2-3 weeks ago at the end of the regular season. I was hoping the Brewers did not shit the bed. I was hoping they were going to keep the Phillies out of the playoffs. And they let me down like they let everyone else down.
They were not successful in that. Well, it's a good point. I wasn't considering that before.
Just to make you feel a little bit worse, Jared. Are you rooting for the Phillies? Or interesting. I'm biased.
Yeah, I mean, I'm rooting for the Braves because if the Braves win, then me and Jake are going to Atlanta for the National League Championship Series. It's breaking news. But only if they win. They've got to win.
Are you worried about going to Seattle after what happened?
I mean, obviously the Astros were a heavy favorite, so it's not like I was expecting to see a clincher in Seattle or anything.
Can I say, I want to hear this from you, Jared, to see if you find this is disgusting. I put out a tweet yesterday comparing David Ortiz to Jarrod, saying, I think it was 2 pictures of them. I said, trust me, we're all thinking it. Is that an outlandish thing to say? Do you find offense? There was a fair amount of Red Sox fans that were like, stop, don't do this shit, don't do it. I'm telling you, I watched Jordan. That's where my mind goes every single time. And I hate to be that guy. If you look at their postseason stats right now, David Ortiz is like a 144 OPS plus in the postseason. I think Alvarez is a 143. And if you look at the regular season numbers, I love you, Poppy. There's no one touching Jordan. It's like significantly, like almost 20% better as a hitter. No one will have the moments. Listen, nobody will have the moments David Ortiz had. But I'm telling you, if you're looking at someone to say this guy could be the next David Ortiz, at least in terms of numbers, no one will have the legacy or the postseason moments. He fits. But Jordan already has postseason moments. Like, there's something there.
He does.
It's not insulting to compare them. That's all I'm saying.
Well, he's got to win a ring. Maybe even several.
I would.
But
listen, you're not going to match that legacy. There's no way. But in terms of pure performance, you don't think about it. You know, when you look at Jordan, you don't sometimes sit there and say, hey, if we went.
Not yet.
I don't know.
Not yet. I mean, he had a monster ALCS against the Red Sox last year, but then he wasn't really a factor in the World Series. Like David Ortiz, after he dismantled the Yankees, like he went on to butt fuck the St. Louis Cardinals in the World Series too. And then he hit 688 in the World Series against the Cardinals a few years later.
That shit, nobody will do that. Nobody will have those kind of, those many memories. That's impossible. Yeah. I don't think any player in MLB history will. David Ortiz will be the clutchest hitter of all time.
And in 03, like he had some big moments in the postseason that year too. So like he homered in Game 7, I believe, off David Wells. He had a big hit. I want to say maybe it was off Keith Folk in the division series against Oakland at Fenway. Like it's not just like with Ortiz, you think like multiple rings, but it's also what he did in multiple postseasons and how much separation there was between like 03. Everyone's like, this guy's fucking awesome. He's clutch. And then 10 years later was his greatest postseason of all. Like, I mean, obviously, 2004, the ALCS against the Yankees, like you put that number one for what he did against the Yankees in 04, like 2 back-to-back walk-off hits. And then he homered in Game 7 that night too. Yeah. No one remembers that because they won 10-3. But Ortiz homered, I want to say in the first inning. It was right after Manny had a base hit into left field. Johnny Damon was coming around to score and he got cut down at the plate. And then every Red Sox fan was like, oh, fuck. Like, here we go again. Like, this sucks. We should have just scored a run there. And now, like, Yankee Stadium is going ballistic. They have all the momentum. And then Manny's standing there on first, and Poppy just fucking croaks a 2-run home run off the facade. It's like, all right, shut the fuck up. Like, we're winning this game by 7.
And that's the stuff, like...
we're hanging a 10 spot on your ass tonight.
You got to be able to do it for as long as Poppy did. That's the biggest thing. Like, Jordan, he's already has a million different things pop up injuries. But Ortiz, 931 OPS, 141 OPS plus for his career. Alvarez, 973 OPS, 163 OPS plus to start his career. That is crazy.
I'm not saying Jordan's not good. Jordan is great, but you've got to do it. You've got to do it over a decade.
And the body's got to hold up
before I start making.
I just say when I look at Jordan, I'll say I see baby Ortiz.
I thought Kike was
that as well. Kike deserves that role when he's in the playoffs. Jordan, playoffs or not, is baby Poppy.
Right.
I feel like I upset a lot of people with this. I'm going to fully expect it. But hey, the numbers don't lie.
He's in the conversation. He's on the trajectory.
That's all I'm saying.
The right path.
You look at him.
He's on a David Ortiz trajectory.
If not better stats. I'm not saying a better career, but better stats.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, Jake, any final thoughts?
I hate to do this to Pat behind his back, but during Pat's picks, the fact that he only gives $10,000 to charity when he plagiarizes during his picks, when he routinely spends $90K at the club, on a weekend is like, it's kind of a slap in the face to a lot of charities out there.
That's true. That's a good point. That's a good point. I donate a lot to charity, but I do it in silence.
Thank you.
I do it in silence. It's just what I do. Actually, no, I don't do it in silence. I talked about donating to that field trip out of pettiness. What was that last episode?
Field trip? Why don't I remember?
Was that on this
I don't think
podcast,
so.
Jake, or was that on Baseball's Dead?
I think that was on Baseball's Dead.
Oh, it was like my ex-girlfriend's older sister is married to like my
Okay.
best friend, and they have 2 kids, and they were raising money for their field trip. So I said, I'm prepared to donate like $1 more than she donates. So I was like, I'm prepared to donate up to $1,000 if she wants to continue to go back and forth. Like if she wants to outbid me on this donation, I'm prepared to spend at least $1,000.
So where did why were you guys bidding? How did that come? Was this just like a competitive thing?
It was not it's like whenever you see like those like donation pages, it says like, oh, you got a donation from so-and-so for $30 and a donation from so-and-so for $50. Like you can see their names on the side of the panel. So I was just like, I'm waiting for her to donate first. And then when she does, I'm going to donate $1 more than what she donated.
How expensive are field trips?
And if she donates back, I don't know. I have no idea, but it wasn't about the field trip. I don't care where they go. But I was like, by the end of this, if she wants to make this a thing, then I will donate until they go to fucking Sonoma.
What the fuck is that?
Isn't that like Napa Valley?
I don't know what that is either.
Dude, you need to grow up.
Where is it?
Syrup.
What'd you say?
California. Like,
Speak up. What'd you just say?
I didn't say anything. Jake, did I say anything?
No, I didn't say anything.
I didn't say a
Fuck
fucking
y'all.
word, dude.
Whatever.
I didn't say a word.
Listen, remember who was
Fine.
there for you, okay?
You were there for me.
But right now
You're
you're
always
not
there.
there for me.
I'm always there for you. I've always been there for you. Who took care of you when Pat tried to drink you into oblivion?
God.
No, me. I made sure you didn't die.
I'm not even sure anymore.
You know what? Times like these,
Times like what?
you just gotta smoke
Is that
the
what I
dark,
gotta do?
dude.
Will that make me feel better?
Yeah. Times like these when you got your friends are stabbing you
Oh,
in the
fuck.
back.
Go fuck yourself.
When your friends stab you in the back, you know what makes you feel better? Fucking a dart. An herbal cigarette. And that's the end of the podcast.
Buenas noches, amigos.